Hi! Today we will be making scallion pancakes. Now this is one of my favorite breakfast dishes or even a side dish, and the best part is if you bring it to a potluck, it looks hard and it's really not. So I promise you'll like this one. I've looked at a ton of videos on YouTube and no one ever makes it this way. All the moms that have tried it, they've been messaging my mom saying how they've never gone back to any other methods. So I want to let you guys in on the secret too. So let's get started. These three ingredients are the quintessential elements that makes up scallion pancakes. Today we are going to make it a little bit more flavorful with the addition of sesame seeds as well as 5-spice powder, and of course you need salt. We are going to start with the flour component. This I will set aside for later. This is about 1 cup of flour. And it goes. The first trick to this recipe is using hot water. I'm gonna turn water to high. Just try to get it to 70 degrees Celsius. So never a boil or else you're going to kill the flour. Do you see those little bubbles? That's how you know it is ready. So we're going to move over to the dough. All right, I got my chopsticks ready. We're going to pour this into the center while kind of gently stirring. This is my mom's trick to kneading dough without making like a big mess. Can you see me? Okay. You just want to make sure that it is well floured. Okay, that's a little bit too much. Don't do that. All right, we're gonna give this a good knead. Don't worry in the beginning if it doesn't come together. It will. My mom's recipes are always foolproof, so I never worry that it won't work. So the reason why we use hot water is to loosen up the gluten structure. But if you go over the temperature, then it will kill the dough and you're basically gonna cook the dough too early. It's just hot enough to feel that it's hot when you touch it, but it's definitely tolerable and you can knead it very easily. You just want to knead it by rotating. So you pull on the top, you use the base, you give it a push, you pull it back, give it another push, and you just kind of keep rotating clockwise. Scallion pancake is one of those things that every region in China has their own version of. Yeah, so I try to look up the history of scallion pancakes and I couldn't find it because every family makes it since forever. The earliest documentation I was able to find was from the Qing dynasty, where they talked about making this dough with oil and scallion and flour. So I assume it's that. All right, so you definitely don't want to over knead it. It doesn't have to be perfectly smooth or anything, just this is fine. The key is to just kind of finish before it gets cold. So this is still warm. I'm going to put it in a bowl and wrap it up. And we're going to let it rest for about 15 minutes. While we're waiting for the dough, we are going to grind up some white sesame seeds. Now these are already pre-roasted. Usually they come like that in the supermarket. What this does is it will release all the flavor that's inside the sesame seeds. And this is secret number 2. Now, most places that make scallion pancakes, if they do add sesame seeds, they always sprinkle it on the top. And I think, you know, doing it this way makes this taste so much more fragrant. One of the best ramen places I've had, they actually serve your ramen with a mini like mortar and pestle like this, and they put white sesame seeds in it for you to grind and put in your ramen, and it's such a nice touch. You really don't need to do this for too long. Just this is fine. See, they're just kind of half broken. You just want to release the flavor. And you can pretty much tell by smelling it too. All right, it's been 15 minutes and it is very soft. You can easily press and it kind of bounces back very slowly, and you can see that it's a little bit smoother than before. It's ready. Make sure your board is well floured. We're ready for the next step. I'm just gonna give it a light press. As you can see, because we let it rest, when you press it, it's not like immediately shrinking back, which is good. I remember growing up, my mom would always make me breakfast in the morning up until I was in like high school. And at the time, I definitely didn't think too much of it, but it wasn't until I started living by myself that I realized how much effort that must have taken. This was one of my favorites when she would make it. And I think because I grew up with that, I also really enjoy taking my time to make breakfast in the morning. Whether you live alone or with someone, I think the gesture of taking that time in the morning to just like slowly wake up and just be in the kitchen and create something to almost tell yourself, I'm gonna have a great day. I think it's really nice. You want to make sure that it's a rectangle or a square and not a circle. So what you're going to do is you're basically gonna stretch it out a little bit with your hand. This will make the next step a lot easier. All right, so I have one that's kind of like this, pretty thin. I'm pretty happy with it. Now we're gonna move on to the next step. So typically in China, they will use lard. If you're in North America, you can definitely use butter, which is what I'm going to do today. And you want it to be at soft room temperature, so spreadable. But really, any oil is fine. Like margarine is fine. Even like canola oil is fine. You don't want to be using olive oil. I think it tastes a little bit too strong. And if you are using a liquid oil, however, you want to add in just a tiny bit amount of flour, and that would allow you to make it A, more spreadable, and B, the flour would kind of create a separation layer. Oh, and I'm using unsalted butter. If you are using salted butter, you want to skip the next step when we do salt this. Make sure you're leaving like just the tiniest brim on the side so that when you roll it up, it won't squeeze out the oil. But just the tiniest amount. A lot of the times when people make this at home, they don't put enough oil on the outside, so then some bites won't have any flavor at all. Now you don't want to put on too much salt because the scallion pancakes will be pretty thin. The secret ingredient, sesame seeds. This is one of those side dishes that tastes good even when it's cold. All right, now the star, scallion. So what I like to do is I like to start off kind of at the base, and I will press it down a little bit just to give it a good start. And once I reach where most of my fillings are, I will press it down a little bit and roll, press, and make sure that you do it on the outside as well. So this is kind of how you achieve that evenness. We're gonna tuck in the edges. This is the part that's going to look very different than how other people make it. In a typical recipe, what you would do is you would take this and you would roll it up into a pinwheel, kind of like this, and then you will press it down. It's very easy to mess up because if it pops, then the filling starts like just free falling everywhere, and when you pan fry it, it's just not the prettiest. But I find this method, it's just so easy, you can't mess it up. So we're going to cut it into even slices. So I guess that 1 cup of flour makes about 8. And look at that, it's like a savory cinnamon roll. So you're gonna take one of these guys and you're going to pinch the top, just like this. Very simple. And then you're going to pinch it inwards to form a little knob, just like that. Okay? I'm gonna turn it around and repeat. Cannot get easier than this. We're good. Okay, now you're going to squish it a little bit, put on some flour on both sides. So the good thing about this method is that even if your filling starts coming out, it's not oozing out. It's fully encased in the dough, so it really doesn't matter if it starts coming out. It's going to pan fry up just fine. So make sure that you're constantly putting flour on it because it is really thin and you don't want it to stick to the board or your rolling pin. Hey呀，妈呀！我不想说我话怎么办？能不能塞进去？No， 但是我忘了这个了。
没事，其实无所谓的。
Okay, so I forgot the 5-size powder, but when you do this, just add it in after the salt, before the sesame seeds. But yeah, if you forgot like I did, you can just do that. I hope it's okay. Oops.
主任，你觉得这好感吗？
I'm going to turn it to a high for the pan to heat up, and then we'll just turn it down before we start pan frying. So you do want to use a generous amount of oil. There's always some amount of water molecule trapped inside of chopsticks, so if you just put it at the base of the pan and you look at it and you see tiny little bubbles, the oil is really hot. Away from you, just like that. The technique that you want to use here is just to constantly move it, and you want to flip it over just as it's like kind of like puffing up. Don't worry, it's not done yet. We're going to keep flipping it back and forth. That's how you get the crispiness. Just flipping it a lot. Gonna spin it. The oil temperature you want is very tiny bubbles, but not so much that it's splashing. So it's picking up on some color. I'm actually gonna go a little bit lower to a 2 on our stove. You want to go nice and slow. That's how you get that crispiness. Look at that. Man, I just love cooking so much. It is just the most rewarding and therapeutic experience. That's the color that I want on both sides. So really, it's with more experience, you know how to gauge the oil level. I find with this kind of scallion pancakes, because it's so thin, if the oil's too hot, what happens is the green onions will start burning first, and then the sesame seeds, and you'll just get bitterness. So we want to do a very, very slow, and I'm gonna turn it to like the absolute lowest. So you give both sides that time it needs to get crispy. I know my dad loves it super, super crispy, so I'm going to make this one as crunchy as it can possibly be. But for myself, I will show you another method where it's more that like pull apart, soft, chewy texture. But look at this. Look at this. Oh. All right. One done. In it goes. The reason why we flip it earlier is because you don't want it to soak up all the oil on one side. You want it to be kind of like evenly distributed. So it's picking up on some colors, and once again I'm going to turn it back down to a low. Is kind of the texture that my mom likes. So in between what I like, what my dad likes, crispy but still got that like how do I describe this? That softer texture, I suppose. If you don't have chopsticks, you have 2 ways of flipping it. Either you can go like this, or you can wear like some sort of gloves, but honestly it's not that bad. Just be careful and do that. So it's up to you. You are at the stage and you notice there's no more oil around. There are 2 things you can do. Either you can add more oil, or you can just keep it on super low and wait, and it will slowly cook.
哦，还有拌面，真是香啊！好吃，你比妈妈做的还酥。这个超酥，你看，这个你在外面都吃不到这样子这么酥脆的。